Teachers of Reddit, what is the stupidest reason a kid has told on someone else? In 2nd grade my friend told the class tattletale that he was a snitch. And the kid stood right up out of his desk and yelled to the teacher he called me a snitch. I am not a snitch. And my friend said, you're doing it right now. Stupid. And it was all during a silent reading time and it was super quiet up until that point. Teacher. Taylor's face is making me sick and he won't look away from me. Asterisk. Stop looking at him and take your damn nap. Thomas has never heard such bullshit before. He said a bad word. Double quote. I'm standing right next to him and I didn't hear anything. Double quote. Well, I can read his mind. Double quote. I mean, how do you prove someone isn't telepathic? When I was a substitute teacher, a kid told on me to the principal. I had made the OK sign with my hand at about chest level. This is the same sign that if placed below the waist and someone sees they get to punch you. This kid told the principal she thought I was going to punch her. Little girl runs up to me at recess and says another girl called her the C word. I was thinking, oh no, not the C word. I explained that she was just going to have to tell me exactly what the other girl called her. She said she called her Cuchie. Not at all what I was thinking. I had a kid say their friend said the Q word. I never did get to the bottom of what he meant. 4th grade. She's looking at me. Every time I look over she's looking at me. Double quote. I think that's called a crush. Me-I-E-I-E-I-E-I-S. The girl in front of me in the line won't stop saying mint. He was correct. She was indeed repeating the word mint. My class had an annoying word too. It was chicken. Always upset that someone was saying chicken. Chicken. Chicken livers. Chicken nuggets. Chicken. I had a student, 2nd grade, that would stick her tongue out just a little when she was concentrating. One day during silent reading another kid came to tell me she was being rude to him. I explained she wasn't and it was just something she did when she was thinking really hard. His response was, well, I don't like it. To which I replied, well then don't look at her. He was all kinds of upset but stopped complaining. He took a pen from the drawer and not a pencil. Double quote. This was after I told my 17-year-old students to grab a pencil and paper because we were going to do notes that day. I have no rules about pens not being used. I just didn't say the more generic writing utensil. And the student who tattled wasn't on the spectrum and wasn't normally super literal. Some CNT grassed on me once in school for chanting my own name when 2 other kids were fighting. My tiny brain can't even begin to comprehend why someone would find that a reportable offense. I can barely even understand why you did that in the first place. Not a teacher, but when I was a kid I was in an argument with my best friend. He went home crying to his parents because I had called him a mighty maggot. His parents asked why I would call him that. Because I called him that first, he responded. Cue his dad calling me mighty maggot for the rest of our friendship. Edit. Spelling. Teaching 4th grade, I had to deal with an inconsolably crying child attempting to explain some traumatic event he was dealing with. Turns out Brian had said that Roblox was bad. Another time teaching year 2. I had to move a child away from a group of girls as they were calling him gay. After moving him and having serious words with the group, I noticed him sitting back on the mean girls table. Reason? He needed his peach crayon. I'm not a teacher, but I did work at a school environment in the past and I'll never forget the time a kid came up to me furiously upset that his friend stole his toy. Seems relatively fair, right? Until about 5 to 10 minutes later. When I finally calmed him down enough to discover that this supposed toy was an imaginary made up one. Really? Like you just can't imagine up a second one? Or a few hundred spares? Turns out imaginary toy politics are quite strict. This is a true story. These were 2 7th graders. A boy and girl. Girl. Sir, I don't like how this boy is looking at me. Boy. I am literally sitting at the back of the class. The two were sitting at opposite ends of the class and couldn't make eye contact unless the girl completely turns around. Anyway, girl stabbed the boy with a pencil and made him bleed like crazy. In 7th grade. I still had no idea what a swastika was. A Jewish friend was explaining it to me and had me draw it out. After I drew it in exact detail to what he said to do, he immediately got up and told the teacher I was drawing swastikas. I tried to erase it but the damage was done. I got a week's detention on lunch for that shit. Even after I explained what happened. I'm reading these stories about kids telling someone to do something and then telling on them. And I just have to say those type of kids are pussies. Once a kid told the teacher I had say the word gross because someone sneezed on me. I was actually grounded by that teacher. I am a teacher. But no stories come to mind. However, when I was in 1st grade, my sworn enemy, yes I had a sworn enemy in 1st grade. We mutually hated each other's guts, was telling my classmates that I was picking my nose and eating it. Then told the teacher the same. The teacher asked me if I was and I denied it and started to cry because I said he was saying mean things about me. So she put the kid in the corner for telling fibs and spreading lies. The reality was, I was picking my nose and eating it. I just acted innocent so he could get in trouble. I teach 1st grade. I had 2 boys that loved to irritate one another. The one boy, L, kept saying trains. Trains. Trains over and over again. The other boy, B, kept telling him to stop it. L moved across the room and stared at B. B stared back and then L yelled, "Do you know what I'm saying in my mind?" B interrupted my lesson yelling, "L won't stop thinking about trains." It took over 10 minutes to get them to knock it off. Longest year of my life. My son grew up watching Red Dwarf. I got a call from his 2nd grade teacher that he had called a classmate a smeghead. The teacher told me I don't even know what that means but wanted to tell you about it. Double quote. In primary school I was playing Duck Duck Goose and I patted this guy's head since I thought that he was playing. He instantly starts crying and saying that I hit him super hard and that he's got a really bad headache. He told my teacher and I got yelled at for hitting another student. In art class, some kid told on me for applying the paint on too thickly. I don't know what happened to that kid, but I'd like to think he grew up to be Duncan Rhodes. Not a teacher. But way back in kindergarten I had a girl who sat next to me who hated my f***ing guts. And she was a tattletale too. Every day in class, it would always be something like Theater Kitty is looking at me. Theater Kitty is putting her notebook on my side of the desk. It didn't help that I was a huge cribblebee and would burst into tears when she told on me. She really f***ed me up. I was talking to one of the girls in my class right before we had to do oral book reports. I don't know why, but out of nowhere, I confessed to her that I hadn't read the book but my sister had and she told me everything about it, so I wrote the report from there. As soon as she heard that, she raised her hand, shouted at the top of her lungs that I didn't read the book, and was only pretending I had. Last year one of my students, grade 4, complained to me that his classmate told him his pencils look stupid. My reply was just, "Dot. What?" And then he repeated the complaint. And I just shrugged my shoulders, looked at the offending student and said, "Guess you should stop insulting his pencils." In hindsight, his pencils were easy to make fun of. His mom had gotten him custom pencils with his name printed on them. Close bracket. Lol, that reminds me of this time in the 3rd grade when a girl tried to convince me all of the HB pencils in the school were hers. Because her initials were also HB. She tried to take my pencils. I was like, you must either be that stupid, or you think I'm that stupid. Pity I was too timid to say that out loud. My favorite complaint in my TK class was teacher. Insert name here took the only blow ball. But I wanted that one first. They would usually sob uncontrollably as they told on the other kid. And if I asked the kid with the ball if they could share, they would usually say no and start crying too nasarosa. Keep in mind we had a giant bucket full of balls. But if they weren't the right color, a fight would basically break out. Miss. They're teasing me because they're saying I sneezed and got snot everywhere and didn't wash my hands, and now they're saying I have the lurgy and they don't want to touch my pencils. Double quote. Well, I did see you sneeze. Did you wash your hands? Double quote. No. Double quote. I don't think I can help you here. Go and wash your hands. Not a teacher. But in the 5th grade, I'm a twin. During recess, this kid asked my brother if he could flip him over his shoulder for no reason. So he did, and the kid got slammed on the concrete and got my brother sent to the office. I got in trouble too due to association. Not me. But a friend of mine. He's a 3rd grade teacher and he called me during his lunch break and told me that one of his students told on another student because her hand accidentally touched his desk. In the end, my friend made the kid stay inside for recess and had him explain why that was such a big deal, and the kid said because she has the, I forgot what, touch. He called the kid's dad and made him explain why he did that, and the dad made the kid write a sorry letter to the girl. High school. This girl in my class took it upon herself to tell the principal who among us had nail polish on. It was a strict school and nail polish was not allowed. Fuck you, Ray. This is why no one talked to you ever again. In kindergarten we incubated and raised live chicks. I accidentally dropped mine into the box they were all living in. Not from high up or anything. Some kid told on me for it. I learned from a young age that you will be punished for accidents, so better start working on being perfect all the time or else. Looking back though, a lot of the activities in the classroom were not age appropriate for 3-4 year olds. I distinctly remember a log with nails in it and an actual hammer we were allowed to use to smash these nails into the log. The late 90s were a different time. Girl stayed after class to tell me someone at her table didn't take notes. I was kinda shocked and didn't have a response for a few seconds. Side note. I teach college students. So this was someone considered an adult. Apparently I rolled my eyes at someone when I was in kindergarten. I was across the room from the kids, so the fact that they caught me looking at the ceiling and made it about them was astonished. On top of that, I couldn't even defend myself because I had no clue what rolling one's eyes even meant or implied. Not a teacher. But back in year 6. We were at a school camp. And we were sitting in the dining room and there was a mini TV which was showing The Voice. A classmate and I were clapping a contestant who had walked out on stage, and a girl told the teacher that we were bullying her. Because the kid next to her called her fat and we clapped along, therefore agreeing with the kid. Boys. Pushing and shoving each other. Me. What's going on here? Why are you fighting? Boy 1. He called me short. Boy 2. And he called me short. Double quote. Boys are both 11 years old and about 4 foot tall. I am only 5'3". Me. Yep. You are both short. Who cares? When you are 15 you will both be taller than me anyway. And I will be the short one. Now sit down. Double quote. I'm not a teacher but 4-year-old me. I was in an argument with this boy. Let's call him Sporty Dude. I wanted to go in the tunnel. But Sporty Dude wasn't letting me. In the argument. He called me a poop. I said Miss Blairink. Sporty Dude called me a poop. Sigh Sporty Dude. Apologized to OP. Okay. I'm sorry for calling you a poop OP. It's okay, all I can think is. Damn. I was so f-king innocent. Edit. Holy 50 upvotes. Thank you Al. Comma. Close bracket. Primary teacher here. Once. When lining up after their lunch break. A kid in year 6 literally told on the kid in front of them for breathing on them. Having had a stressful day. Without thinking I said, really? Don't be such a wimp, and took them inside to class. When I sat down I called the same kid over to me and apologized for calling them a wimp. Just in case my ass got in trouble. Not a teacher but my child got tattled on for talking to another friend about a video game that the tattletale wasn't allowed to have at his house. Kid ended up homeschooling because the teacher told the mother she couldn't ban the entire class from speaking about all the things her child wasn't allowed to do. preschooler uses a toy phone to call the police on a classmate. Classmate. He's calling the police, make him stop. Double quote. This isn't entirely related, but I just remembered this guy when we were like 9. Laid down in the middle of the hallway and started yelling things like, "Miss, why did you hit Emmy? Stop hurting Emmy." Of course our teacher hadn't actually done anything. To be fair, she was not a good teacher thinking back. One of my preschoolers tattled on their friend for using the wrong end of the crayon. And another one tattled because their friend wasn't ticklish, so it wasn't any fun to try and tickle him. I had someone who bit themselves and went to the teacher and said I did it. Because I was playing on the slide and they wanted to play on it without me around. We were like 8. I was in trouble until I said I couldn't have made that bite mark. The teacher said, "Prove it." I smiled and was missing my front 2 teeth. I had lost them both like the week before, so the new teeth were not in yet. The bite had a full set. I hated that girl. She also stole my gloves once and I got in trouble for trying to get them back. I was in middle school, hanging out with a guy during PE, and some popular girls went and told the teacher the guy was standing too close to them. We were all clustered together, as in the entire class was in one area. And those girls had migrated our way. He still got a talking to from the teacher while they giggled. I drew a raisin playing a saxophone that had a huge DCK in grade 5. The teacher came back in the room, and the kid in front of me put his hand up and told her I was drawing gross pictures. I got sent to the office where I waited for the teacher. The principal and the teacher brought me in and asked to see the drawing. They couldn't contain their laughter. My teacher had her head turned away from me, but I could see her heaving so heavily trying to stifle the snicker. The principal just had a giant smirk on his face and said, "Let's leave those drawings for when you're at home." "Okay, bud." I said okay and went back to class. "Fuck you, Trevor, and your snitch ass." I told on a boy in 5th grade for his constant whistling, which hurts my ears. He eventually did it to annoy me. Cut to the middle school cafeteria a year later. I see the kid and he's still whistling, though he doesn't appear to see me. I tattled on him again, and the teacher told me he had a disorder that made him constantly whistle. So I bullied the kid for either OCD or Tourette's syndrome. I got what I deserved from him. This was me. I once told on my friend to my teacher for changing his desktop wallpaper to a shark. Teacher was like, "Okay. So what?" Double quote. That's my reaction now. I have no idea why I did that. Not a teacher, but I was a TA for a while in high school. I remember a freshman coming up to me saying they were pissed this other girl in the back was playing games on her phone. They aren't supposed to be using phones at all. Long story short, both phones were taken. Kinda related. I was once ratted out for taking a shit. I was in grade 3 or 4 and was having explosive diarrhea in the washroom, and my douchebag classmate decided to run and tell our teacher. Before I knew it, she was outside the store with the principal asking me to come out. I said I will when I'm done pooping. I got in trouble and was sent home. Still not sure what I did wrong. One kid had a full-blown tantrum because another kid had the same jacket as them, and they were adamant that both jackets must belong to them even though they couldn't get the small jacket over their arms. One was a size 2-3 and the other 7-8. Not a teacher, but back in middle school there was this one girl that really hated me. I'm not even sure why she hated me. I was a very quiet kid, didn't really talk much or interact with others, so I doubt I ever even talked to her before. Anyways, every time she saw me she would stick her tongue out and make a dumb face at me. In one class she was sitting up front and I was a few rows back. She kept turning around and sticking her tongue out at me and making faces and dumb remarks like, "Boo. What are looking at?" Eventually I got tired of it. I stuck my tongue out at her, said a few choice words and flicked her off. She told the teacher. She was known as a troublemaker, and like I said, I barely even talked. The teacher didn't believe a thing she said and she ended up in trouble for lying and trying to get me in trouble.